Today we preview Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and head to Vegas vis-a-vis Chun-Li's China for the EVO 2010 World Fighting Finals.
Watch as the world's best go head-to-head. X-Play vs. Capcom starts right now.
Hello and welcome to X-Play vs. Capcom and our special look at the EVO 2010 World Fighting Finals. I'm Adam Sessler.
And I'm Morgan Webb. Whether you're a fighting game expert or a determined rookie, today's show is going to blow your mind.
Now, we're going to take you inside EVO 2010, the biggest fighting game tournament on the planet.
Watch the world's best players compete and see expert techniques that will make you question your sanity.
Now, coming up in the next half hour, we're going to preview Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Fate of Two Worlds, which was playable at this year's event.
Plus, we're going to look at the history of EVO, which has grown in size and popularity every year since its modest debut back in 1995.
Then we'll hit the floor and check out the competition on Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix, and Tatsunoku vs. Capcom.
And you do not want to miss the incredible final match in this year's Super Street Fighter 4 tournament. Reigning champ Daigo squares off against underdog Ricky Ortiz for all the marbles.
But first, a gaming legacy.
Capcom did not invent the fighting game, but they certainly made it mainstream with the release of Street Fighter 2 in 1991.
And since then, they've kept gamers hooked with sequels, remakes, and crossovers like Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Here's a look at the past, present, and future.
To many gamers, the name Capcom is synonymous with fighting games. The Capcom fighting dynasty spans over 2 decades, but the key event was the release of a little gem called Street Fighter 2 in 1991.
Street Fighter 2 came to prominence in the early 90s. It came in just as the arcade scene was dying off and really changed the model entirely. It was the classic 2-man enter, 1-man leaves, and it was an exciting experience because basically, like, if you beat me, you're taking my money.
A parade of updates and spin-offs followed, culminating in Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. The Street Fighter Alpha series began in 1995.
Street Fighter Alpha!
Introducing many new fighters and making super combo moves a more integral part of gameplay.
As they went from Alpha 1 to Alpha 2 to Alpha 3, they added more and more mechanics and more crazy combos. And from there, we went on to a Versus series with an X-Men versus Street Fighter. And X-Men Children of the Atom was sort of the first one that had these crazy mechanics where you could fly all over the place and do these really over-the-top super moves and chain combos where you could just tap 1, 2, 3 buttons and they would all combo into each other.
The resulting Versus series reached its zenith in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, still a staple of fighting tournaments the world over.
Go.
By the late 90s, the arcade scene was fading fast. One of the last great arcade fighters was the long-awaited Street Fighter 3, released in 1997. The third iteration, Third Strike, was not a mainstream hit, but the hardcore community embraced it.
It was considered by many the apex of that level of intricacy. For the people that were students of the game, it was really delightful. It was really an exciting and engaging experience.
In 2009, 10 years after Third Strike, Capcom single-handedly resurrected the fighting genre with the release of Street Fighter 4.
When Street Fighter 4 came out, it brought back everyone together. It brought everyone back to life. Like all the retired players that supposedly retired came back to play this game competitively.
Super Street Fighter 4 has now become the main event at the EVO Championships, and the upcoming Marvel vs. Capcom 3 looks to guarantee Capcom's continued dominance of the newly reborn genre.
Capcom's been very excited about the success. They pioneered the fighting genre, and we've brought it back in a glorious way, so I think we want to try and ride the wave and push it in exciting new directions, and hopefully have some surprises and some good news for fighting fans pretty soon.
There are many reasons to go to EVO. You can see the world's best competitive gamers go head-to-head, or find out what it feels like to get owned in front of a crowd. This year, attendees had the bonus of getting their hands on Marvel vs. Capcom 3, so here's a preview. EVO 2010 marked the first time the general public could get their hands on the incredibly long-awaited sequel to one of Capcom's most beloved fighters.
Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is a very special game. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 came out over 10 years ago. The internet has been basically asking for this game constantly. We were finally able to make that happen. And so it's a really special experience to be able to bring the game on test in a very early form out to the fans who've been asking for it for so long.
These are the hardcore users of the game, and I want to hear their opinions. That's the whole reason for bringing Marvel vs. Capcom 3 to EVO.
And the hardcore users definitely put MVC3 through its paces. EVO legend Justin Wong racked up 21 wins in a row, the first time he sat down with the game.
I like how it looks. I like the gameplay. Some of it could still be tweaked out just because, like, if it's supposed to be better than Marvel vs. Capcom 2, it should resemble Marvel vs. Capcom 2, just a little slight bit. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 lasted for like 10 years for competitive scenes, so if Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is supposed to be like the next biggest game, it should last for the next 20 years.
It has been mobbed the whole time we're here. Players are really excited about the game, and the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 game was basically the most popular game for a very long time at EVO. Players are very passionate about that game, and I imagine that it's going to be just ridiculous when Marvel vs. Capcom 3 comes out.
Unfortunately, no new characters were shown, but Nitsuma-san assures us that the team is hard at work on the huge roster.
So this time around we have a little over 30 characters. It's extremely difficult as we're making brand new models, brand new moves, and bringing all that to the table.
Dodge this. The EVO build did, however, have level 3 supers enabled. Check out Iron Man's insane level 3 that wowed the crowd during the finals night exhibition. The wait for Marvel vs. Capcom 3's 2011 release date has never seemed longer, but fan loyalty knows no bounds.
I'll always support it because Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was, when I first started, that was my first world championship, so I'll always be a Marvel vs. Capcom fan.
Let's finish this. Time's up.
Do not go anywhere. There's more X-Play vs. Capcom on the way, including the Knockdown Drag-Out Super Street Fighter 4 finale. We're going to broadcast the entire match from start to finish. Find out if the unstoppable Daigo can be knocked from his throne. Plus, a look at the history of the EVO Championship Series, which has been going on for 15 years now. And we're going to get the winners and losers from EVO's other hotly contested tournaments. All that and more right after this.